Okay, so in this lecture, we are going to talk about the first theorem of isomorphism. We are going to prove it. So, the first theorem of isomorphism is what we are going to talk about right now. Clear? So, let's first understand the statement, then we are going to see the proof. So, basically, the statement says that if there exists a function f from g to h where f is a group homomorphism where f is a group homomorphism, then let me give the implies sign. So this implies that the quotient group that is given by g by the kernel of f, which is the coset, actually the group of the cosets or in kernel of f in g, will be isomorphic to h. This is the first isomorphism theorem, also called the fundamental theorem. Okay. Before going and moving into the proof of this particular theorem, we first revise some things. Acha. First thing, what is a group homomorphism? So if there exists a function from g to g dash, where g and g dash are groups, maybe same, maybe distinct, then if f of ab is f of a times f of b, okay, or if we talk about the general statement, that is f of aob is equals to fa star fb, where ab belongs to g, fa fb belongs to g dash, and g basically denotes the group go, and g dash denotes the group g dash star. Okay, so the operations are also preserved in this group homomorphism, and if such a function exists, then the function is called a group homomorphism. Clear? And if this function is bijective, then if and also homomorphic, bijective and homomorphic, then f is called an isomorphism. Clear? F is called an isomorphism. Okay, and if basically let's suppose that this f is bijective, then this relation between g and g dash is said to be isomorphic to each other. This is the relation where g is isomorphic to g dash. It is also an equivalence relation. Clear? This is what homomorphism and isomorphism means. Also, what is the concept of a quotient group? So basically, if there exists two group g and h, where h is a normal subgroup of g, then g by h is basically the group of cosets of h in g. And the reason why this is forming actually is that since h is normal in g, so g h g inverse, clear, will be equal to h, right? The condition for a normal existence of a normal subgroup, and this will be for all g belongs to capital G. So from here we can write that this is equals to hg. So basically the left coset equals right coset. If this condition satisfies, then you have this sort of a group which is called the quotient group, and the elements of the quotient groups are basically the left or the right coset of h in g. Am I clear? Now let us move on to the proof of this first isomorphism theorem. Clear? So let's check. So before starting with this isomorphism theorem, let us first see one thing, that since we are going to prove that g upon kernel of f, that is basically the quotient group which is actually containing the cosets of kernel of f in g, is isomorphic to h. So first we need to verify whether this is an existing group or not, or basically we need to verify that whether kernel of F is a normal subgroup of G or not. Okay, so let's see. We know that kernel of F basically is the set of elements X belong to G such that F of X is equals to the EH, right? Identity of H. Am I clear? So now we can do one thing, that so F of, let's say, GX G inverse, okay, where G and G inverse belongs to capital G. So what does this actually denote? Since this is a group homomorphism, so we can write it like this: FGX, and this is G inverse, this is E2 or EH rather. So if this is EH, then EH and the composition of EH and FG inverse will give you FG inverse, and we know that the image of the inverse element is equals to inverse of the image, so this becomes whole inverse, which gives you E2. Therefore GX G inverse also belong to kernel of F, and hence we can actually say that the kernel of F is a normal subgroup of G. The kernel of F is a normal subgroup of G, and G upon kernel of F is an existing group. Clear? Is an existing group. Okay, so now we need to set the mapping. So how can we set the mapping actually? First thing first, see, G upon kernel of F will constitute of elements of the form G ker F. Am I clear? Now if you compose this, so FG ker F will give you FG times F of ker F, and the elements will give you the identity, so this is actually equals to FG. Am I clear? And FG is surely a subset of H, or rather belongs to H, not subset, we are not talking about set, so belongs to H. So we can actually set the mapping. Clear? So we can actually set the mapping not like this. Okay, we can actually set the mapping like this, that let phi be a function from the quotient group to H. Clear? From the quotient group to H, such that phi of Gn is equals to F of G, where n is equals to the kernel of F. Am I clear? Okay. Now we need to check that whether this function is homomorphic and as well as bijective or not. Clear? So let's first check about the 1-1 case, that is injective or not. So let's see. So let phi of G1n is equals to phi of G2n, which implies f of G1 is equals to f of G2. That implies that f of G1 times f of G2 inverse is equals to E2. That implies to f of G1 and f of G2 inverse is equals to E2. Acha, E2 is equals to E2. That implies that f of G1 G2 inverse is equals to E2. And here as we are talking about, E2 basically is, I'm not written it, E2 basically signifies the identity element of H. Clear? E2 is signifying the identity element of H. Okay, consider this at this moment. So from here we can say that G1 G2 is basically belonging to the kernel of F. Clear? G1 G2 inverse is basically belonging to the kernel of F. Okay, now if G1 and G2 inverse belongs to the kernel of F, then we can say that G1 and G2, they both belong to they both belong to N, because we know that for the condition, see, N is a normal subgroup, that means that N is also a subgroup of G. Clear? And we know the condition that for N to be a subgroup of G, for all G1 G2 belonging to N, G1 G2 inverse must also belong to N. Am I clear? So from here what we can say is that G1n is equals to G2n. Reason being ki N is a normal subgroup of G, and if so, we can easily say that phi is a 1-1 mapping. Phi is a 1-1 mapping. Am I clear? Got it? Okay. So up till this much is clear, I guess. Next, if we talk about the concept of bijection, okay, that is whether the order of the elements are same or not. Okay, so how can we talk about that actually? So let us first analyze the mappings first. Clear? So the mappings are from G upon kernel of F to H. Clear? One thing I guess you people know, or maybe you can find it out when I will be writing this, that if there exists a B which belongs to H, then what happens is that the F inverse of B is either normal, is either empty or coset of kernel of F. Okay, this much is clear. And when is this actually existing? When F is a homomorphism. So let us first check one thing, that whether phi is a homomorphism or not. Let us first check that. So phi of G1n and G2n. Now how can we write this actually? So this can be written as phi of, now G1n is equals to Ng1. We already know this. Left coset is equals to right coset. So this can actually be written as, so you can write it like this, G1 n, and this can be written as Ng2. Okay, or let us do one thing, let us not go into the complexity of commuting. So G1n and G2n can be written as f of G1 G2. Clear? And this is equals to fg1 times fg2, because f is homomorphic. Now fg1 is phi of G1n and this is phi of G2n. Clear? So phi is also homomorphism. Since phi is homomorphism, so what happens is that phi inverse of some element x, where x belongs to H. Okay, so this will actually either be empty or will be a coset. Coset of what? Coset of the kernel of F, and that is what we have as the domain. So basically the inverse function will exist of phi. Am I clear? So from here we can write that phi inverse exists. And if phi inverse exists, so we can say that phi is basically a bijection, and which actually gives us to the conclusion that the quotient group is basically isomorphic to H. So this is the proof of the first isomorphism theorem. I hope you guys have understood this theorem. So meet you guys in the proof of the second isomorphism theorem in the next lecture. Meet you guys in the next lecture.